Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today we have the Bedtime Story Generator, a complete localized version that doesn't cost us anything to make, and you can even upload it to your social media. So let's take a quick look at what it looks like, the final output, and then we're going to walk through step by step on how to create this.
The hush of a twilight dawn, the first steam train, jolly, lifted its polished brass nose toward the gentle clouds, humming a soft lullaby that fluttered like a sleepy feather on a breeze as it puffed a warm, sweet cloud of steam. The world seemed to sigh in return, turning every hill and valley into a plush, cradling pillow that would cradle the night. The rails beneath Jolly's wheels glistened like a ribbon of moonlight, inviting
so
the
this is going to
train to
continue on
glide.
through.
Rest lead to gentle endings, wrapping the listeners. Every dream is a gentle adventure waiting to be explored.
All right, so if that is something that you guys want to create, something you're interested in, go grab a cup of coffee, come on back, and we're going to start this video. Now, one of the things that we haven't installed locally in our Docker instance is Baserow. So that's one thing that we're going to have to get installed in your Docker containers if we don't already have it. So we're going to go ahead and pull up terminal. We have a command that we're going to run in order to get Baserow installed. It's a little Docker command, kind of like we did with the previous ones. All of these guys up here, all these different containers. We're going to run this command here. It's Docker run -d for running it disconnected. We have the URL in which we're going to be able to use to access it. And then of course we have it attached to our local machine so that we can store our data locally as well. In case there's a crash, we always have a backup. The port that we're going to use is port 85, the restart unless stopped, and then of course the initial Baserow URL that we're going to pull from. After you get that ran, it's going to go ahead and set up here, as you'll see. This is running, and then you'll be able to visit the URL, which is right here, this one right here. It's going to ask you to create an account, so we can easily click on sign up. We'll put in our email address. We'll give it a name, password, and then we'll click on get started. All of this right here, you can probably skip. You're not going to need that. You can go through it if you like, but for this video, we're just going to go ahead and skip through everything. We're not going to need any of this for what we're doing. We'll have the workplace. We'll just keep it as Jab's workplace, and we'll click continue. Invite other people. We're not going to invite anyone for now. We'll just click on skip, and we're going to create our first database from scratch. And we're going to go ahead and name this first database Bedtime Stories, and click continue. We're just going to choose projects and click continue. We'll call it skip for now. As you can see now, it went ahead and added our workspace. Now, we'll need to set up this workspace here so that we can add our bedtime stories to it with the form that we're going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the different fields that you're going to need for this. So under bedtime stories, we're going to just choose new table. We're going to start with a new table. We're going to name this table stories. We can actually get rid of this projects table. We're not going to need it. And under stories, we're going to go ahead and add all the different fields that we need. So this one here, name, we can click on this down arrow. We're going to edit this field, and we're going to name this one language. This is going to be a single line field, single line text field, and then we're going to click on save. The next one here is going to be voices. So we're going to get an edit field again. We're going to name it voices. And this is going to be a single select. We're going to add our different Kokoro TTS voices that we're going to use. So the first one we're going to add is AF for American female. That's Nicole. We're going to add another option. We're going to add Bella. We can add another one. We can add Jessica. We can add Adam. We're going to add Michael. And then finally, we're going to add British male George. And then we can click on save, and that'll add our voices in here as well. We're going to add the next option here, this is going to be topic, and the topic is going to be a long text. Actually, this one can be a single line of text as well. It's not going to be that long. It's just going to be a brief summary of what you want. So we're just going to do a single line of text. We're going to add another field, another single line of text. This is going to be audience. Click on create. The next field is going to be for character, another single line of text. We're going to click on create. Next field is going to be a single select. This is going to be our art style, basically how we want our video to, or the images to be created and in what style. So we're going to add a couple options here. These will make sense later as the video progresses, as I will show you what these mean and where we get them from. So we're going to add art, cartoon, experimental, whimsical, drawing, pencil, photography, macro, and let's add one more. We're going to do illustration, children's book. And we could change the colors if you want. We're just going to go ahead and use the default colors here. We're going to need a length. So this will be the length of the video. We're going to put this as a number, and we're going to make sure that it has at least 1 decimal point. So that way, if you want it to be 2.5 minutes or 1.5 minutes, you can do the 1.5, or you could just do 1 minute, 2 minute, etc. The next field is for speed. This is going to be the speed of the voice that you choose. So you can speed up the voice, make it talk faster, or slow down the voice and make it slower. So again, we're going to go ahead and choose number. And this is also going to have a decimal point in it as well. We'll click on create. Next, we're going to choose the images to generate. So how many images you want to generate throughout the video. This is also going to be a number, and it's going to be a number with 0 decimal places. We don't need to do 2.5 images. Kind of hard to create a half an image. We'll click on create. Next, we're going to have our status. The status is going to be a single select. We're going to add 2 options here, one for complete and one for pending. I like to make sure that the complete is at least a green color and the pending could be like a yellow or orange color. This one, add another field. This is going to be final video. This is going to be a URL field because at the end of our workflow, we're going to be sure to update this workspace here, and we're going to put the end result URL in this field here. And finally, the last thing that we're going to need is the UUID. And this is a unique ID that Baserow will automatically create for you. And it's really handy when you want to make sure that we want to choose the correct row in our workflow. Now that we have Baserow set up, we're going to go ahead and walk through all the steps in this process here, including setting up the form all the way down to possibly even posting it to your social medias. So let's go ahead and create a new workflow. The first thing that we're going to need is a form. So here on the right hand side, we have on form submission. We'll click on that. And we're going to go down and we're going to add all the things that we added in Baserow. We're going to pretty much add to this form, which makes it a little bit easier if you want to create these on the fly. You can also create a Google Sheet if you wanted to as well. And then you can pull this from a Google Sheet instead of creating it on a form submission. So it's your choice on how you want to do this. In this instance, we're going to create a form. So the authentication is none. For the title, we're going to do bedtime stories. For the description, it's going to be describe the bedtime story you want to tell. All right, now in order to add all the form elements, we can click on where it says add form element. And in the field name, we're going to go ahead and choose language. This is going to be a text type of text. And we can put a placeholder here. And then we can go ahead and make sure we choose required field. For the next one, we're going to choose add form element again. And this is going to be voice. This is going to be a drop-down list. And we're going to fill in the names that we chose in Baserow as well. So we had Nicole, we had Bella, we had Jessica, Adam, Michael, and I believe we had George. So you want to make them exactly the same like you put them into Baserow as well. And then no multiple choices, and it is a required field. So we're going to go through and put in all of the form information, and I'll go through and get all that set up, and I'll be right back. Looks like we got all that done and taken care of. And if you were to execute this, you would see a form pop out. You would just fill out all of this information here. Click on submit. All that information will be displayed here in our output. Now, once we've made the submission on the form, let's clear that form. We're going to need to upload that into Baserow. So the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and click on a new node. We're going to look for Baserow, and we're going to say create a row. All right, now that we've go ahead and created this node, we need to create some credentials for it as well. So we need to create a new credential. And before we do that, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we have the correct API and allowing n8n to connect to it. So we're going to go into where it says My Settings, and we're going to go into Database Tokens, and we need to create a token. So let's create a token. We'll give it a name. In this case, we'll just name it n8n, and then choose your workspace, and then click on Create Token. Now you want to make sure that it has full permissions. So make sure create, read, update, delete, full permissions here. And if you click on this icon, you can see this is where the token has been created. All right, now that we have that token created, we can go back into n8n. We can fill out this information here. This is going to be the URL that we're going to be using. It has to be host.docker.internal with your port number of 85. We're going to use the same username that we used to sign up, and then the password that you used when you signed up as well. We'll click on save. And as you can see now here where it says database name, it allows you to select the database. So we're going to choose Bedtime Stories, and we're going to choose the table of stories as well. And on this drop down, we're going to choose define for each column. Now let's do something first. Let's save this, and let's go ahead and execute this workflow real quick. We're going to choose execute. Again, we're going to go through this process. We're going to go ahead and click on submit, and that will allow us to get some information in here. We're going to pin that by pressing the letter P, and let's go ahead and click into here so that we can gather all of that information. Now, we need to go ahead and fill out some of the fields. So we're going to click on add field, very similar to what we did with the form. So this one, at least it has everything in here. So we're going to choose language. And in order to get the language field in here, we'll choose expression, and then we'll drag the language field down in there. Okay, and then as you can see down here, it says English, and we'll do that for all of these. So I'll be right back while I get that taken care of. Let's go ahead and execute that again. And it should have went ahead and added all of that into, there we are. Let's take a look and see if it was added properly, and it looks like it was. Perfect. All right, let's save that. All right, now that we've added the row, now what we want to do is retrieve that row. So we're going to go ahead and click on the plus sign. We're going to type in Baserow, and we're going to go ahead and choose the one that says get many rows. We're going to make sure that our credentials are chosen properly with row, get many, choose the correct database, choose the stories. We're going to go ahead and choose on return all, and we can actually set the different filter rules. So we're going to choose filters, add filter. This is going to say contains pending. Execute that step. There's only one in there, so as you can see, it only brought in one item. Now, in order, let's say you had many in there. Let's say you're using the Google Sheets to do this, and you have 25 entries in there. Well, when you run this step, it'll output 25 different items, and we only want the first one available. So in order to make sure that we only get one, add a limit, and we're going to limit that to 1. And if we execute that, you'll see that it only has one item in here as well. And here is all of the information. Moving on, we're going to set some parameters that we need throughout the workflow. So we're going to choose set And we're going to choose this first one here. And we're going to click on here where it says add field. And the parameters that we're going to set is the length of the video. And we're going to get that length again from the limit. And we're going to just drag that in right here. And as you can see, it has the number 2.0. We're going to add another field down here for speed. Remember, this is the speed of the voice. We'll grab that, drop it in here as well. And then we also need to make sure we know how many images that we need to generate. So this is going to be number of images. And we're going to drag and drop that in here as well. And if we execute that, we'll see that it outputs that information over here really nice for us. Next, we need to get AI to help us create the script that we are wanting to write. All right, so in order for AI to properly handle the script for us, we're going to create a chain. A basic LLM chain is what you're looking for. So we'll grab that. We'll put this in here. And information we're going to define below. So the source of the prompt is defined below. We're not going to choose anything for the prompt. So we'll choose expression. We're not going to choose anything on these two. And what we need to add is a system prompt. And then we're going to need to add our system prompt. Now I'll have that in the Google Doc down below. We'll copy and paste that in here. Now you'll see some of these are green and some of them are red, and I'll explain that here. So to go over this, you're a gentle bedtime storyteller. Your task is to write a calming, imaginative story designed to ease. I've chose the audience in this case. And then of course the story is based on these user provided details, and it goes through the topic, the audience, the length, and the main character. And these are the requirements that we've set forth. Now this is red, more than likely simply because of the way that it's spelled here versus here. So if we just remove this here and we drag this in right where we left that off, there you are. Now it's green, and as you can see on this side, it'll say the number that correlates with this over here. We can make sure we remove that space. So all this is going to do is go through and give it some instructions on how to create that script. Now, in order to create that script, we do need to add a model to it. So we'll choose our local model that we're running. So we'll choose a Llama chat model. You'll have to choose your Llama account. I believe you've done that before, so make sure you choose your Llama account. The model that we're using in this case is going to be the GPT OSS 20 billion parameter. Now, I had an issue with running this before, and I want to make sure that you don't have that same problem. So when I run this, what happens is that when you run it locally, it'll store the model into your VRAM of your graphics card. So it takes up VRAM. And there's a problem with that because when you start running images, your images also need VRAM to run. And it was taking quite a long time to run because it was maxing out on the VRAM. So in order to fix that, I had to figure out what we can do to dump the VRAM after this chat model runs. And out of some extensive research, if you choose add option and keep alive and set that to 0, then when this chat node is done running, it dumps that from VRAM and it's no longer loaded into your memory. So make sure you add that in there. Now, what happens? Let's run this and let's take a look and see what's going to happen. So we have all of our information in here. Let's go ahead and execute this. All right, here we are. So Jolly the cloud floated gently above. It has this whole information that we see in here. Now, you'll notice that it has these little break lines, this /n. And we'll need to get rid of those because when you do the text to speech, it doesn't like those. So what we need to do is add a formatter. And we'll name this up here formatter. So after we name this formatter, we're going to make sure it's set to manual mapping. We'll click on add field. And this is called text. So we're going to take this here called text. And with the help of ChatGPT, we have a little value that we can put in here. that will take away the /n's and remove them. So if we execute this, those /n's, as you can see, are no longer in here. If you look on the left-hand side here, you can see that the /n's are here after the word gray, and they're no longer in here. And that's going to be great when we do our TTS. All right, now that we have the formatter all set up to where it removes any of the break lines, we can move on to the next step by creating the TTS. I don't think we're going to need the parser in this instance, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. So if you need it, you can add it. It's going to be in the final output that I've sent to you. Sometimes I have issues with it, but in this case, let's try building this without it. So we're just going to go ahead and move to the next step of adding the HTTPS request. And in this case, it's going to be a post event. And we're going to go ahead and connect to our local Kokoro on the port 8880. We're going to use the speech part of the API. And we're going to go ahead and choose on send body. Make sure that this is set to using JSON. And we're going to add a couple things in here from our handy dandy notebook. So the input is going to be this text right here. So we're going to go ahead and edit this and drag that text in right there. Make sure it has the quotes around it, I believe. It's going to need that. For the voice, remember, we're going to grab that from the limit. So we're going to find where it says voice. And then we're going to add finally the speed in here as well. So we're going to grab the speed and put that here. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and execute this one. So it appears that I did spell Nicole wrong, and so that's why we were getting the error. Now, if you're ever unsure on how to spell any of the names for your voices, you can always connect to the API for Kokoro, and it'll tell you here under voices. And how did I get to this? Okay, so if I do a quick Google search for Kokoro TTS GitHub, we use this one here. And if you scroll down, you can see where it says API documentation and click on that link right here. Okay, that'll open up this window. And under voices, you can click on the drop down and choose execute. And it's going to show you all the voices that are available that you can choose. And in this case, as you can see, Nicole is not spelled with an H. So we just went ahead and changed that back to regular Nicole. I've updated it here in the voices, and I've also updated it in the form as well. And as you can see, it's been updated here. So now if we run this step, we should not get any issues. And if we take a look here, we can view this.
Jolly, the cloud, floated gently above a sleepy valley, his fluffy edges glistening in the soft blue twilight.
That sounds beautiful. All right. Next, what we want to do is we want to save this to our local machine, and we're going to use our S3 node, upload this file to our buckets that we have. Now, if you make sure that you've created a bucket for these into min.io, make sure you log in and make sure that you've created a bucket that you're going to want to use for this. So in this case, we're going to use this bedtime stories all together. We're going to go back in and we're going to upload a file. We're going to make sure that we have our credentials selected, the file we're going to upload, and in the bucket name, we're going to type in our bucket name, bedtime stories, and paste it so you don't have any spelling errors. Okay, so for the file name, we'll click up here where it says schema. We'll go where it says limit. And we remember that UUID that I had mentioned, that's going to come in handy. So we're going to go ahead and put that as the file name right here. And we're going to name this .mp3. It's going to be a binary file, which is this one right here. It's going to be as data, as you can see right here also. And if we just click on execute step, that should upload with no problem. Let's unpin this one here and let's try to run this one more time. We'll let this re-record and we'll see if it uploads with no problem. As you can see, it did, and we have a success equals true. That lets us know that it's been uploaded. And if we take a look here, 178 ends in 786. If we go into our console and if we do a refresh, we can see that it was just uploaded. It's sitting right here. All right, next what we're going to do is we're going to get how long this text to speech was. Choose another node, another HTTP request. And we're going to use the built-in FFmpeg that we have using NCA Toolkit. In this case, we're going to post. We're going to go ahead and choose this as the URL. This is our NCA Toolkit URL. And we're going to use the FFmpeg compose. We're going to use a generic credential type. We're going to choose header auth. And make sure that you choose your NCA Toolkit authentication. You should have that already, and if you don't, it's going to be the name. When we created our Docker image for this, it asked for an API key and a password, and that is the API key and password that you chose during the installation of that Docker image. So make sure if you have your notes, go back through, check on those, and put that information in right here. Choose where it says send body, and again, make this where it says using JSON. We're going to choose expression, and we're going to add all of this information in right here. But basically all this is doing is it's grabbing a bunch of information that it needs in order to find out how long this file is. Okay, we're going to make sure that we have the correct bucket. We're going to add that in here because that's where the file is going to be located, and click on execute step. This tells us that the duration of the text to speech is 148 seconds. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a chain. Okay, this is going to be for creating the images. So what we need here is define below. And we're going to go ahead and throw in the script that we created so that it has an idea of what kind of images to create. So under the formatter, we're going to grab the text and we're going to put that in right here. So it has all that information about what it is. And in front of that, we're going to say this is the full script. We're going to require a specific output format. We're going to add a prompt. We're going to have a system prompt. We'll grab this from our Google Doc here. Basically, what this is saying is it's giving the AI agent information on how to go ahead and create those images. We have some core requirements. We have some prompt guidelines. We have some very strict things to avoid. And then we have our output format on how we want the images to be exported in a JSON format. And like I said, we need an output parser for that. So we're going to click here on the output parser, structured output parser. There we go. Much better. As you can see, we requested 4 images and we got 4 images and 4 prompts. The next thing that we need to do is we need to split those out. So we're going to use a split. And what we want to split out is the outputs. We're not going to include any other fields. And then we're going to click on execute. And as you can see, it has 1 here, simply because we didn't want to add all 4 at the same time. So we want to add 1 at a time. And if we go to table, you can see that it has all 4 of them in a nice table form. All right, now that we have this split out, what we want to do is we want to add a new field here. It's going to be under crypto. And under crypto, we have a unique way of being able to name each one of these individually. Where it says hash, we're going to choose generate. And then for the property data, we're going to choose UUID. And for the type is going to be UUID as well. And what it'll do is it'll grab each one of these prompts and add a unique ID to them, which is what we'll use to name them going forward. So if I execute the step here, you'll see now at the end of the table, it adds that unique ID to each one of those, which is very nice for the naming. Let's add some more properties before we continue on. Instead of crypto, we'll just name this one UUID, so we know what that one is. This one, we're going to add another set node. There's a few things that we need to make sure we are naming properly. So we're going to get all of our variables in place so that we can continue on through, because we're going to split this out into two different sections. So the first one that we want to have is the prompt, and we're going to grab the prompt from here. We're going to need the file name is going to be stored in our min.io instance in one of our buckets. Make sure you have the bucket spelled correctly. We'll add this unique ID at the end here. We'll make sure that there's no space. And then at the end, we'll .png, because that's the file path name that we're going to need. And one last thing we want is the clip duration, so we know how long each one of these images will be processed for. Now, in order to get the clip duration, we need to do a little math. We need this one here, and we're going to go ahead and divide that by the number of images. So if we go to limit and we have the number of images to generate, that should give us a number. Nope. And why doesn't it? I'll tell you. Because we need to take this out, and basically we need to put all this together into one expression. Now you'll see it has the correct number here on the right, which tells us that each image will probably be processed for 37 seconds each. Click on execute, and as you can see, it added a file name for each one. So even though the images haven't been created yet, we've named them already. So each one of the files that we will create will have this file name added to it automatically. What we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to create some images. We're going to loop through them. So we're going to create a loop. And of course, we're just going to have the batch size of 1. And we're just going to get rid of this guy here. We're going to get rid of this guy here. We're just going to bring this one down. I'm using ComfyUI in order to create these images. Now, if you have ComfyUI installed, you're right on track with where I'm at. But if you don't have ComfyUI installed, you'll have to install ComfyUI and then go through the process. This is the workflow that I'm currently using, and this will also be included as well. So you can just drag and drop it into your instance of ComfyUI. We're using Flux1 Dev in order to process these images. And this down here is where we have the styles. So all the styles that we had added earlier in the form and into Baserow, I got strictly from here. So there's so many styles in here. You can go through and choose any of them that you want, and you can update Baserow, and you can update your form, or if you're using Google Sheets, you can update your Google Sheet, but they have to be exactly the way they are spelled in here. So in this case, it says 3D, space, a pipe, a space, and then the word abstract. So it has to be in that exact format. I've set the width and the height of each image to be a simple 1280 by 720. You can set that a little higher if you want to, but the higher that you go, the longer it's going to take to generate the images. So this is a quick little setup. These images produce in about 15-20 seconds, if I recall. So I added this here, and in order to get this into n8n, we needed to create a API instance of this, which I've added as well, and it'll be included. So we're going to create an HTTP instance. This is going to be a post command, and this is going to go directly to our ComfyUI. We're going to send our headers. The first header name is going to be content type with a value of application JSON. And then we're going to send our body, and it's going to be JSON using JSON. And we're going to choose expression and enter in our JSON for our images. A couple of things that we needed to edit in this is our seed. So we have a little JavaScript here that's allowing us to create a random seed every time. As you can see, this number on this side, it'll change every time I click over on that side. And all of this information that you see in here is the exact same information that you see in here. And what we want to edit is our style. So here's our style. we want to make sure that we go where it says limit and we drag the style that we have and put that in here. So when it creates the images, it knows what kind of image to create. And you'll see on this side, the style will say illustration children's book. This is where we put our prompt. These are going to be the image prompts. So you can get that here from the fields. You have the prompt right here. Just drag that in right here. And as you can see, it will tell you a soft blue twilight blanket, a sleepy valley. This is basically letting our AI know what kind of image to create. And you don't need to mess with anything else down here. Now, before we can execute this, we have to create all of the different nodes that we need so that it can loop through every single one of them. So the next node that we need to create is a wait node. Now, depending on your system, this could be anywhere between 30 seconds to 5-10 minutes long, depending on how long it takes for your computer to process these images. So mine currently takes 30 seconds. So I'm going to create a wait node, and this is going to be 30 seconds. And you'll see why that's important. Once we wait those 30 seconds, we need to grab that image that was created. In order to do that, we need to create another HTTPS node. We're going to get the image that was just created. We're going to get that image from this history. And it's going to ask you, what image do you want? And in this case, prompt ID. And you'll see what I mean once we execute these. Actually, I can show you here. So it's going to want the prompt ID. So once it creates an image, it gives you this information on the left-hand side. Okay, so for each image, it'll give you a prompt ID. That prompt ID is unique for each image. So when you grab that, that's going to be in the history, and it's going to give you all the information regarding the image that was created. So we're going to grab the prompt ID. We don't need to fill out anything else in here because it's just going to populate that information for us. Now, in order for us to extract out the image URL, we need to have a little magic going on here with some JavaScripting, because this is a lot of information to go through. So we're going to create a code node, and we're going to paste that information right in here. And that'll return the URL that we're looking for. After we get the image URL, we need to get the generated image. So now that we have the URL of where it's located, now we need to go ahead and grab that image. So let's grab another HTTP request. This is going to be a GET request. And in order to find where that image is, it's going to be the image URL. If we go back here, after this one runs, we have this GET generated image, and it's going to grab the URL. So here's the URL down here. This is the output of where that image is located, and it's just going to grab that image. Now that we've grabbed that image, we need to put it somewhere. So we need to go ahead and store that in our S3 again. We're going to choose upload a file. Make sure you choose your S3 credentials. It's under file, upload. Make sure you choose the correct bucket name. I'm going to always copy and paste it directly from here so I don't get it wrong. Now that we've generated the image and we've received the image, we're going to go ahead and give it a file name. And that's that file name of the generated UUID that we generated earlier. So we're going to go ahead and put that in here. And I believe we just called it UUID. There it is. That's the name of the file. We don't need to do anything else in here because it's going to show up as data. Now, the magic will happen. All we have to do is loop through every single one of these until all the images are created. Let's save this and let's give it a run. See if this works. Okay, it has sent information into our queue, and as you can see, it's chugging along here. And we're going to be waiting for the next one for this one to complete. In order to go through, it's going to grab the information. Still waiting. Got 30 seconds to go. Tells you down here. You can see that. Click on the little icon. All right, it looks like it was correctly added and it was actually uploaded, and now it's working on the next image. And you can see the next image is in queue. There's the next image it created. I'll let this continue through and I'll be right back. Okay, that's done creating all the images. As you can see, that succeeded. I needed 4 images and it created 4 images. So let's go ahead and pin all these. So now that we have all of the images created, we want to animate them a little bit, zooming in a little or whatever the case may be. So we want to create video images that we're going to add to the final video. And in order to do that, again, we're going to go ahead and use our NCA toolkit. So from this field here, we're going to go ahead and choose another HTTP request. In this case, it's going to be a post request. We're going to go ahead and use the URL for our NCA toolkit, and we're going to transform some videos. Again, this is going to be a generic credential type using header authentication, and make sure that you choose your NCA toolkit header. We're going to click on send body. This is going to be JSON. Using JSON, we'll choose expression. So this is indicating that we're going to choose an image zoom out effect, okay? And the file name is going to be listed right here. So we'll change this and we'll add the file name right there. So that's where that file is going to be located. And that file says for the length of 37 seconds, this is our clip duration, for 37.182 seconds at a frame rate of 25 at a zoom speed of 1.5. That's what's going to happen currently with all of these images. Let's go ahead and execute that step. It's going to take those 4 images and apply that image zoom effect on every single one of them. And there you go. It looks like we got 4 images. We have 4 files that were created, all with a code of 200, indicating that everything went through with no problem. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to aggregate those images out. So we need to create an aggregate. We're going to do individual fields, and the field name is going to be response. We're going to not need anything else. We can click on execute, and that puts them into individual files so that we can grab those. Let's rename this one here. We're going to go ahead and rename that one to create video clips so that we know what it's doing. Right, now that we have those aggregated, we're going to go ahead and create a code node here. And with a little bit of magic from ChatGPT, we have some JavaScript that basically takes and extracts the URLs and it maps them out properly. So let's go ahead and execute that. And as you can see, it adds video URL to each one of those so we know exactly where they are located. We're going to take all those videos and put them into one using the NCA toolkit, and we're going to concatenate all of those videos into one. So we need another HTTP request. This is going to be another post. We're going to use our NCA toolkit under the video and concatenate, generic headers, header auth, choose your NCA toolkit authentications. We're going to choose send body, make sure we choose using JSON. And this one is going to be pretty simple. We have the video URLs, which we got from right over here. We got to add a little magic to this one called stringify, as we're putting all of these into one string with an ID of job. Sometimes this takes a long time, so we're going to add some options at the bottom, and we're going to add a timeout, 50,000 milliseconds, just in case anything happens. Let's execute this and see if that works. There you are. That was pretty quick. Job was executed successfully with all of those into one file. Let's go ahead and rename this so we know what's going on. This is going to be called create video. We have a few more steps left. Now that the video is created, we need to add the voiceover that we created earlier and add it to this final video. So we're going to go ahead and click on another HTTP request. This is going to be a post request. Again, we're going to use the NCA toolkit, and we're going to use FFmpeg to put all this together. We're going to use the generic credential types again, header auth. Make sure you use your NCA toolkit of credentials, send body using JSON, and we're going to add all of that information in here. It looks like we have a red field, more than likely because we named something different than what we've had previously. So this one is going to be the set audio duration, and instead of get audio duration, we'll just change that to set, and there you are. It has the information now. It's green. Let's execute that one. It added the information to that file very quickly. And the final process is to update our records in Baserow to let us know that this is complete. So we'll update Baserow, update a row, make sure you're using the correct credentials. We have row, we have update. We're going to choose bedtime stories, the row ID. Now, what is the row ID? We're going to go ahead and grab the row ID from the limit. That's the row ID, should be 6. And if we go into our base row, we can see that it lines up with this number 6 right here. We're going to define for each below. We're going to go ahead and add field. This is going to be the field for the final video. And the field name is going to be where the URL is located. And we're also going to add another field. This field is going to be for status, letting us know that it is complete. Click on execute. And this is letting us know that it was executed. If we go back into Baserow, we can actually see that the final URL is right here. So if we click on that, download it, and let's take a look at what created.
Ollie, the cloud, floated gently above a sleepy valley, his fluffy edges glistening in the soft blue twilight. He loved to drift, watching the tiny houses below where children closed their eyes and dreamed sweet dreams. As he glided, Jolly felt a curious warmth tug at his cloudy heart, a gentle nudge that whispered, "What might I find next?" He followed the drifting breeze, twirling over green meadows and silver streams, his silver-gray belly shimmering like a lullaby in the sky. With each breath of wind, Jolly felt lighter and lighter, the world below growing quieter, the hum of distant traffic fading into a distant hush. He wondered about the hidden wonders tucked in the clouds, waiting to be discovered. Slowly, the wind carried a sweet scent, like fresh rain after a summer day. Jolly's curiosity swelled, and he swirled closer to the valley's clouds, where tiny droplets gathered in twinkling clusters. He listened to their tiny chimes, a delicate music that felt like the whisper of lullabies, and he felt a gentle ache for something he had never known, the gift of rain. Then, with a soft sigh, Jolly released a single droplet, and it fell like a tiny crystal of water into the earth below. The world inhaled in relief, the soil breathing deep and sweet. The droplet joined its companions, and together they painted a quiet rain that sang a lullaby over the hills. As the sky grew a deeper, kinder blue, Jolly felt a warm glow of contentment, knowing he had shared a gift of gentle wonder, and the valley slipped into a peaceful, star-kissed sleep.
Okay, there you go. Not too bad. So from there, you can continue to add this to your social media. In order to get it to social media, there's a couple things you can do. One, you can upload it yourself manually, but if you want this automation process to do everything for you, let's continue with this extra few minutes here and I'll show you how to get that done and taken care of. So you have to watch my previous video on how to add all of your automations to social media. If you haven't checked that out, make sure to check it out. It'll basically give you some insight of what we're going to be doing next here. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to grab that video of where it's located. So let's grab an HTTP request and we're going to grab that final video. So the final video is here. This is where it's located. And there's a couple things that we need to do down here is we need to add an option. And that option is going to be for response. And then under the response format, we're going to change that to file and then put the output in field data. Okay. So if we execute that, it should grab that file automatically and put it into a data field. This kind of looks familiar from the previous ones when we create images and everything else. But now that we've gotten this file, we want to upload this to our Google Drive. So you want to make sure that you have your Google Drive already updated with where you want to put these files. So we're going to pin this one. Can't pin it because it's too big, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and type in Drive. And from here, we want to upload a file. So we're going to click on Upload File. Make sure you're choosing your Google Drive credentials here. It's a file. We're going to upload it with the field name of data, which is what it says here. So what are we going to name it as the file name? So the file name, what we're going to do is choose limit. And under this UUID down here, we'll grab that, put that here. And it's a .mp4 file because it's a video file. So we want to make sure it's MP4. And what we're going to choose is My Drive. This is where it's going to be located. And then we're going to choose it by ID. And let's log into our Google Drive real quick. And if you go into My Drive, here where I have Bedtime Stories, we can click on the Bedtime Stories folder and make sure it's a shared folder. You can tell by the little icon that it's shared. If it doesn't have that icon, you can click here on the right for this little icon that says share and make sure it says anyone with the link can use it. But if we double click that, there's a little, grab this right here. That's going to be the ID of this drive. So we can put that in right here. Okay. Okay, now that we have it uploaded, well, we will in a second, we need to set some parameters on what we're going to be using to upload to Blotato. So we're going to choose a set node. And in this, we're going to choose JSON. And then from here, you're going to make sure that you add your fields for your Blotato instance. Okay. This is going to be your Blotato API key, just like that. And then you'll put your Blotato API key in here. And then if you're going to be uploading it to YouTube, for instance, you can put your YouTube ID in here. And then you'll put your YouTube ID in here next to that as well. Next is going to be an HTTP request, as we're going to go ahead and upload this to Blotato. So this is going to be a post request. Since we're posting the media, we're going to choose V2 media. Authentication is going to be none, but we're going to send some headers. And those headers are from using the field below. And the header information is going to be the Blotato API key, which we're going to get from the previous node that we just set up. So that will come through automatically for us. We're going to choose send body. Using the fields below, we're going to look for the URL. And we're going to look for the URL from the Google Drive. So it's going to be the upload file from the web content link that the Google is going to display for us. And we'll see all that here in a minute. Actually, if I go back in over here, you'll see the web content link. So this is the location of where the file is located and the one that can be shared and uploaded. So we grab that and we put that down here. And then finally, we're going to need another HTTP request. And before that, let's rename this one upload to Blotato. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and upload this to YouTube. So this is going to be a post request. And we're going to post this from Blotato. So we're going to use the Blotato's API for posts. So again, it's going to send headers and it's going to be the Blotato API key, just like that. We're going to grab that Blotato API key from the prepare for publish node that we had previously. We're going to send the body using JSON fields. And this is going to be in an expression just like this. So the title is going to be the title that we get from our limit, which is down here. This is the title or the topic. And then for the content, we can also put the same thing for them as well. Note also that the privacy is set to unlisted. So when you do publish this, it's not going to be live. You will have to go in and make some changes and edits. All right, let's save that and let's run this and see if that will process through. And that's it. Now that's going to be over on YouTube. You can go over there and make your edits and change your titles and your description, add some SEO tags, and you'll be all set. I really appreciate you guys taking time to watch this video today. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments below. Until next time, see you again.